Hey guys, welcome to the Lore Reloaded, the only channel that I'm the content creator of. Hey, if you're watching this video on demand, you know how this works. I'm going to take a minute to throw some stuff at you while I wait for people to filter in, say hello to them, and then we will just get down into it. So, first off, if you haven't checked me out on Twitter, definitely go to twitter.com/lore reloaded. No reason you should not be there. You can also go to facebook.com/lore reloaded, where a lot of people like to message me. Good way to contact me, good way to for us to connect, things like that. I'll also probably be opening up a couple other avenues like Minds or Pinterest or something like that. Also, if you really enjoy this show, you enjoy what I do, and you want to see me expand, please check out patreon.com/lore reloaded, or if you're on a live stream, consider the super chats. With that, let's go ahead and say hello to all the people who are here. We got Idris Ahmed. What's up, Idris? In the house. Huion Fenion, which is Greek, I believe. What's going on? 14 Kalium, as always. Captain Jesse 1, Bazar, Nexus, Xavier Gaming back, Ducala. I like that name, Ducala. Very rolls off the tongue. We also got Gary Moncor from Idaho. Who doesn't enjoy Idaho? Lots and lots of potatoes. And potatoes are good for you. So Idaho should be the capital of the United States. I think we've kind of determined that. Nathan Norman, Daniel Bavon, and so one other thing that I just got reminded of, if you haven't, on my Starship Lore series, I have the Prometheus class, which I was surprised to find out when I did research on it, that it is actually a warship for all intents and purposes. Eagle Moss was good enough to send me a collectible, or a model of it, so I could take a closer look, as well as some back information. It's right here. As I said on the other stream last night, this is an okay model. It feels like it's not as in-depth as the other ones, but it's kind of interesting. And they do get most of it right. For instance, if you see, there's the top nacelle of the top saucer, which the Prometheus has has 6 nacelles. What's that? Really surprised to see that. Potatoes taste better than Kelpian, I'm guessing. That is true. Well, you don't know that, because Michael seemed to really enjoy it. I'm guessing Kelpians taste delicious. Renee up in the house. I disagree politically, but they need to go to Yuan Woping and Lawrence Kasdan School. Don't know what that is. Probably going to get in trouble because I said those. I'm doing well, Adris. So, let's just get into it. Talk about the Terran Empire. This is not going to be any rants or anything like that unless you guys get me there. And honestly, this specific show is more just to hang out with you guys. So if we go somewhere else or you want to talk about something else, feel free to comment, because we'll have a back and forth. It's like a geek breakdown, but in the past. Oh, of course, technically everything's in the past. So, the Terran Empire, from a discovery point of view, when you look at the idea of what they're doing with it, I kind of like it. I really wish they would have dropped the xenophobia and the racism. But overall, and I really think it's xenophobia, not necessarily racism, because racism is more a human species thing. But basically, it is, for all intents and purposes, the Roman Empire in the 23rd century, or 21st century. Nope, 22nd century. Yeah, 22nd century and 23rd century. That's what I do like about it. I like that it has a Romanesque view to it, and you can see the vestiges of the Roman Empire in it. I also like the fact that it goes along with the theme of what we saw in Mirror Mirror, where you have this, not only this need to impose power, to use overwhelming force to destroy your enemies, but also to go out of your way to show that you're powerful, to show that you are the best species that exists, through the palace ship, through your weapons, through their armor, everything, all of the jewelry and things that adorn them. Everything says, I'm better than you, and you should bow down to the Terran Empire. So I wish we could have seen more of their culture or their society, because it would be very, very interesting to see how the normal day-to-day operations go, especially at the I'd be interested at the soldier level, not just the the best of the best, the officers. How do the soldiers get along? Or more interestingly, how do the citizens get along? I have a theory about this, and I think, based on what we see in Deep Space Nine, that even Terran civilians are pretty oppressed in comparison to those in the military. I honestly think it is a military authoritarian dictatorship. I think if you're in the military, that you would be very well taken care of, even though it has its own dangers. But if you're in civilian life, you're pretty oppressed. And we see that because in Deep Space Nine, when Spock goes and does all the changes, right, it's actually very popular in the Terran Empire, which makes me believe that it was the military more than anything else that was in power and was this great evil. Those are my thoughts on it. Nexus says, but Archer was xenophobic, so this does make sense. The only reason Spock was an equal is because he was half human? Maybe. We don't see a lot. I don't see any reason to believe there was any xenophobia in Mirror Mirror, but we didn't get to see a lot of it either, so it's possible it was still there. Nathan says, I was angered because they had the Federation lose the war, and now they're going to go back in time and undo it because Michael is inherently an Ubermensch, and all will bow before her. So that's an interesting theory. A lot of people are thinking that that Michael is going to, well, not a lot of people. Anti-Trekker said this. It makes a lot of sense, and now I'm seeing people agree with it, that they're going to go in the past, they're going to stop the war at the binaries. The Battle of the Binaries is not going to occur. And then either Michael or Saru will get command of the Discovery, and it's basically just a reset. That makes a lot of sense. I think that they would do that. Especially, you can't have the Klingons win the war like this. It would not jive at all. It would basically be reimagined. There's no way that it can't be reimagined if it sticks that the Klingons won the war. It does not at any point jive with any other series. And they said that this was in the Prime timeline. Renee says, looks like Sparta meets Starship Trooper meets Claudius by way of Dinfall? I don't know Dinfall. I got everything up to that. If I remember correctly, in Mirror Mirror, the only aliens were Spock and the blown up planet. The planet never got blown up, to my knowledge. Spock was the only alien there, but you never saw any reason to believe there was any xenophobia necessarily. I don't think... Now, the intent of the writers doesn't necessarily matter, to be honest. What you intend and what occurs and what we can infer from it are two different things. But I don't think the writers ever intended to have racism. I think they thought that the Terran Empire would be above racism and would just be very authoritarian. And again, Spock, the way Spock's treated, the fact that he's an XO, no reason to believe that there was any kind of speciesism. That's not to say there wasn't. Again, we only saw a brief moment of the of Mirror Mirror, of the original series version of it. So it's possible, but I don't know. I thought the USS Discovery, by the way, there are going to be spoilers, if that's what people want to talk about. So spoilers for Discovery. 3, 2, 1, I thought that the USS Discovery overshot by 9 months and jumped forward 9 months. They did. And because they jumped forward 9 months, the Federation has lost the war. I like to think that the Terran Empire they want to was different mirror universe than the one we saw in the original series. They don't feel like they jive. They honestly do not feel like they jive at all, but we don't have enough information from the Mirror Mirror version. But if you take a look at Deep Space Nine, that doesn't feel like it necessarily jives with Discovery either. The closest to Discovery would be Enterprise. There was xenophobia and looking down on aliens in Enterprise in spades. And I think that's where Discovery got its opinion on Terran Empire. I think they looked at Enterprise, and only Enterprise, and went with, that's the version we want. You can see that in some of the logos that they use, some of the images that they use. It's very Enterprise influenced. And so I would be comfortable saying that Enterprise and Discovery are the same universe, even if it's not the same universe with the others. And it feels like it would naturally flow from Enterprise, especially if the aliens were losing, and or I'm sorry, not the aliens. The Terran Empire was losing, and these aliens had come together just to completely devastate the Terrans. I think a response to that would be what you see in Discovery: an overreach, an overreaction, and just a complete dominance of the sector, of the not sector, but of the galaxy. Honestly. Saru would make a fantastic captain. I think so as well. He's not saying that. I do think that he would make a fantastic captain. We agree. As I said, loved his speech and how great of a leader he was. Also loved how he went from being afraid of command to being a great commander. You know, Daniel Bevan, it's more than that. He went from being a coward. The very first episode we see, Saru's a coward. He sees a satellite with a hole in it, and he's so devastatingly scared of it that he wants to leave. He doesn't want to do anything. And then you take that person and you bring him to the last episode, and I think that was a wonderfully done arc. I think Saru's wonderfully done arc. I think that Tilly is wonderfully done. Before this episode, I really liked Lorca, even with Lorca becoming the bad guy. I liked Lorca. I thought that arc, and they did some build up, and it made some sense. So I do think that they can build characters well. They just can't tell stories all that well, in my opinion. Could Star Trek Discovery pull a yesterday's Enterprise thing and say that one more ship in the here and now makes no difference, but one ship made a difference 9 months ago? Yeah, again, I think they're obviously going to have to go back in time. I would be very surprised if they stayed with the Federation losing here. I think they'll go back in time. I do think they're going to go back to binary. I think Michael's going to save the day. Anyone else want Tilly to become an ensign finally? So if they do this, in the series finale, they go back in time and stop the binary from happening, I will go ahead and call it now. If Tilly is the captain, or even if Saru is the captain, she becomes ensign in that episode. She comes on as a cadet, but Michael or Saru will remember and make her an ensign. Nathan Norman says the emblems don't fit and the uniforms are so different that there is no hint of the original series in them, and the attitudes are so strange. The Empire is supposed to be obsessed with power by any means, even aliens. Yeah, I can agree. I mean, you can gain power by subjugating aliens. I think it's very Enterprise-esque. I do. What's going on, Captain Geronimo? Hope you're doing well. The last episode of Discovery is Voyager, Year of Hell. The Discovery explodes and we repeat the events. That if they didn't have a season 2, that'd be funny. I don't think they'd do it, but it'd be funny if it's this time loop for the Discovery. They obviously wouldn't do that, though. Here's an interesting thing, and this was brought up by Trek Yards that I found intriguing. So the Palace. When you look at the Palace itself and you look at its design, it has a very Romulan Didera Dex feeling to it. I mean, especially the bottom. So you have the Palace that sits on top, and the bottom, the wings, are very, very Didera Dex, which at least for headcanon, it makes me want to believe that they dominated the Romulans and then made the Romulans start making tech for them. It would explain how the captain was able to attack from orbit without being detected, because they did have Suliban cloaking technology, but maybe they attacked the Romulans and made them perfect cloaking technology for the Terran Empire. I think it's very, very Romulan-esque, the Terran Empire ship, the Palace. Greetings from Germany. Great channel. Thank you, Dave A. I'm here for you guys. That's why I'm doing it now. Glad I can hit up Germany. I got people from Germany today. How many more episodes of Discovery are there going to be in this season? I thought there was only one. Apparently there are 2, which is unfortunate, because I'm going to finish this season. I can't guarantee I'm going to watch season 2, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. The Starship, yes. So what you're saying is the Starship is a Romulan ship, but with the Singularity Core on the outside. Nexus, what I'm saying is the Starship is Romulan inspired. And for this to have occurred, what I think may have happened or would have had to happen, is the Terran Empire completely just dominates the Romulans, takes over the Romulan sector, and starts having them make ships for them with their cloaking technology and design it. And I think that is very Terran Empire-esque. Even Xenophobia, you can see advantages in different designs and incorporate those. And there's a certain, I think if you're xenophobic, there would be a certain poetic justice in using alien technology to kill and dominate other aliens. By the way, I got a lot of people were yelling at me about this. It is not a star. It is a spore something or other, a ball of sporeness from the mycelium network. Which may be true, but I still think is very dangerous when you consider how it kills Lorca. But it is not a star. At Lore Reloaded, I always thought that the reason we saw Xenophobic in Enterprise and Mirror Darkly was because the Empire had only been in space for 100 years, so Terran policy didn't catch up yet. That's possible. I didn't see it like that. But yeah, I mean, maybe they get over their xenophobia. Han Solo talking about when I said poetic justice, where is the justice? So from a xenophobia route, so from someone who thinks they're better than the aliens, from someone who thinks that aliens are inferior, I'm not saying they're right. I'm saying from someone who looks at it from that way, using their technology to take out an inferior species that wanted to kill you does have a certain poetry to it. Now again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that I would endorse it. I'm just saying from their point of view, I could see it being somewhat poetic. Did Prime Starfleet basically almost totally destroy the Romulan Empire, stopping at a last-minute treaty? We don't have any canon on that, but based on what we saw in Enterprise, in A Mirror Darkly, ironically, there was a huge battle that involved the United Earth, it involved Vulcans, it involved Andorians, Tellarites, and I want to say Denobians. I could be wrong about that, the actual species, but they attacked and completely destroyed the forces of the Romulans, were a stepping stone away from Romulus itself, and the Romulans said, you know what, you're right, we've been wrong about this the whole time, how about we all go back to our corners? And the United Earth backed off, because that's what the United Earth does. So, yeah, they had defeated most all of the forces of the Romulans. But it was only because of the alliance that they had. And it was the... oh, man, it was right before the Federation. It was the precursor to the Federation. I've done a video on it. It's the... it's not the Commonwealth. It's the Alliance of... Friendly Planets or something like that. It's Team Friends is basically what it was before it became the Federation. Orb in the middle of ship is called a super mycelium reactor, says Daniel Bevan, which does sound bad A, fits into Trek universe being all technical, and does still sound Terran and awesome. I actually don't have an issue with the mycelium super reactor based on what they say. So when it didn't make a lot of sense to have that at first, but I think they explained it well. That was one thing I didn't have an issue with. What do you think about stolen USS Defiant? I saw mesh schematics, but it looked a bit off. Could it be an upgrade? I think that they wanted to make the Defiant look cooler, so they changed it. It would make sense that they would modify the Defiant and make changes to the Defiant. But the changes that were made make absolutely no sense. It makes no sense at all. And it seems to only make it worse, honestly. But yeah, so they just changed it to make it look cool because we don't see the Defiant. So we don't see the changes. And the changes make no sense based on the original tech. When they changed the pylons, that would only hurt its ability to go to warp. I understand making changes and modifying something over time, especially 100 years. But not for the worse. Yes, I meant the Coalition of Planets or Super Friends, otherwise. Yes. So it was called the Coalition of Planets. Could you do a video if Earth won the Earth-Romulan War? Could you do a video that Earth won the Earth. Are you talking about if the Romulans won the Earth-Romulan War? I'll throw that in the hopper. I'll write it down. As always, I'm going to ask you to do a comment after this video goes live. But I'll put it down to remember to try to do something on it. If the Romulans had won, basically what would have happened is the Romulans would have taken over and dominated the United Earth. They would have subjugated them, because we know that that's what the Romulans do when they take over or when they win wars. And then I think they would have used that to divide the other species. I think they would have continued to create wars between Vulcans and Andorians and Andorians and Tellarites. And I think they would have just kept it destabilized and eventually just expanded until you had a super Romulan Star Empire. I think Vulcan would have quickly fallen to the Romulans and become a part of the Romulan Star Empire. I think you would have probably then saw the Andorians and Tellarites fight until there was nothing left, and the Romulans may have taken over one or both of them. And then you would have probably had there might have been a massive war between the Klingons and Romulans, but the Romulans aren't big on war, and they're not good at it based on what we've seen. So I don't know that there would have been a war more as much as they would have just continued to destabilize. I think the two major powers at the end of the day is the Klingon Empire and the Romulan Star Empire, with the Romulan Star Empire somewhat kowtowing to Klingons. So that's my opinion. The ISS Charon, or Charon, mycelium orb core looked a lot like Star Wars main reactor cores in the planet and Death Stars. Kinda. What's going on, Professor Janus? Elliot Land from England. Hey, glad you guys can make it. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this, so I'm glad I was able to do it at a time that you can make it. Elliot, I'm here for you. How is the Terran Empire going to fix a large hole in the command chain, the Mirror Lorca dead, and Emperor missing, and she is in the Prime Universe? This is a massive power vacuum. Just horrendously massive. And 14 Kalium is right. It's going to be a huge civil war. I don't know how the original series could occur with things like this, because with no Emperor, with the palace ship destroyed, now you have captains and admirals vying to become the next Emperor. Really, whoever's in charge of the Defiant, whoever's in charge of the Defiant, if they kept upgrading that, most likely is going to be the next Emperor, but it's not a lock. And so I do think you're going to have a horrendous civil war after this. But if we believe Discovery, I don't think you'll have to worry about the aliens that much, because the hierarchy of the aliens was just devastated. Oh my gosh, yeah, so basically Burnham has saved the Terran Empire. Well, I mean, save being relative. By destroying it. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Save being relative. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of people dead. A lot of humans killing each other to try to become the most powerful. Klingons go for the jugular. Drawn out wars, they may like them, but their military is not suited for it. I can see that. I can somewhat see and agree with that, I think. Because it does seem like extended wars, they don't really do well, but the immediate hit, they completely devastate. And if you look at their ships with the ability for cloaking technology, they can be glass cannons, with the exception of the Negvar, which wouldn't have existed in this time period, obviously. So yeah, I can agree with that. It would be interesting if the Resistance, the Terran Rebellion, whatever we want to call it, Alien Resistance or Alien Rebellion, whatever we want to call it, decided to try to hit the Terran Empire. Of course, we know they'd fail, but yeah. I could see Mira Pike becoming the Emperor. That'd be interesting. Or Admiral Katrina Cornwell, who is, I think, the chick who was captured. I mean, maybe. It'd be intriguing. I don't think we'll ever see it. I don't think they'll ever address it. I think it's going to be an absolutely huge plot hole. Or the power of Michael Burnham. This could happen. Watch. She is taken back. Okay, so she helps them win the war against the Klingons. And then Georgiou is taken back to the Mirror Universe after being changed by Michael Burnham and starts to make changes for the betterment of the Terran Empire. Watch. They'll do that. Where did the Klingon sarcophagus get Cloak from? If the original series, they traded D5 for Cloak. Could it be Terran things somewhere? No, I think again, they just don't explain it, and they're never going to. It's supposed to be some kind of old technology, but, you know, here's the thing. Klingons having Cloak, in the real world, in the world we're all talking about putting this together, Klingons were never originally supposed to have Cloak. It was a set of circumstances where not collectible, but one of their ships in real life, one of the things they were using to put together was destroyed. Either an intern dropped it or it was destroyed on purpose. There's some disagreement on what actually happened. But they dropped a model, a Romulan model, and they needed to have a ship. So they used a Klingon ship and said, oh, there was Alliance, and they got the cloaking technology. So Klingons were never originally supposed to have Cloak in the theme of Star Trek. And they didn't come up with the technology at all. They say the sarcophagus, this was some old technology that they had, but that's just not consistent. The Klingons had no idea how to use the cloak and didn't even perfect it until the next generation. Garth of Izar is the right amount of crazy despot to do quite well in the Empire. That's true. Klingons may had cloaked 200 years ago, but lost the cloaking tech to the ability to fix the cloaking, or the ability to fix the cloaking tech. Just makes no sense. When you see the Klingons, their interactions with the Romulans, their want for the Alliance to get the cloaking technology, I don't think that is consistent. I don't think that it jibes. I mean, that's what we're going to have to say. That's what if I do a lore video and all of this has to stay, that's what I'm going to say on the lore video. Of course, you'll hear me sighing and talking about how that doesn't make sense, but that's canon. That's canon. I want to know how Starfleet dropped the ball so bad with the war. It takes a special kind of twit to mess up a war that badly in only 9 months. What they're going to say is probably the cloaking tech. They didn't get all of the information, so they didn't know how to see the cloak. I think cloaking technology is a massive advantage, but I don't think that you can necessarily win a war with it. At the beginning, when they first started using the cloaking technology, like full scale with all of their ships, ships were separated, and so they were just picking them off. The fix for that is to not have your ships separated. Anytime ships patrol, they patrol 2 or 3 or 7 at a time. Yes, that's going to limit or slow down your area and may allow the Klingons in the short term to gain some territory, but all you got to do is just create ways of getting around the cloak technology. Also, when you win battles, do everything you can to get one of those cloak devices, or the cloaking technology, so that you can learn how to see through it. Sophie O'Neill, what is going to happen is they will reset the timeline. We have already seen that spore drive can travel through time. That's what we've been saying before, Sophie. You may have not gotten here then, and that's fine. Yeah, I think they're going to reset it. You're going to have Michael Burnham as captain because she stopped the Battle of the Binaries. What's probably going to happen is Michael and Ash, or Voke, through the power of love, are going to go back in time. Ash Voke is going to talk to Voke of that time, convince him not to do this, and convince him to take the throne as the emperor of the Klingon Empire, not go to war. And Michael's going to get command of the Discovery for everything she did. Randomly wild theory. Could the Klingons have gotten a cloak from the Herc? Because they obviously win the war as it turns them into warriors. Maybe the Herc had cloaks. Maybe the Herc had cloaks, but that happened so long ago. And again, it just doesn't jibe with what we know of the Klingon culture and the Klingon society. They make no mention of it. They give every indication they have no idea how to use the cloak or what the cloak is. So, I mean, it's possible. Robert Wilk, this is why, even though it is said to be Prime, this is alternate Prime. This is why what we saw with the Terran Empire is off also. This is Mirror Alternate Prime. Yeah, I hope that's what it is. I hope they don't continue this facade that this is the Prime timeline, this is what you want. Last episode, they basically told anyone who really cared about... Well, let me rephrase that. Last episode, they showed they don't care about getting the maximum amount of people watching their stuff. They just want to have their agenda, and they want to tell a story their way, and they want to use the Star Trek brand to do it. So why they care to continue to say it's Prime is beyond me. I mean, it's obviously a lie. There's no way this works. Nathan, even the French never blew a war that quickly, even against the Prussians in the 1870s. I'll take your word for it. Seems like... I won't say that. Theory, only 10 Klingons knew how to build cloaking devices, and they died. Why 10? Maybe only 2. Maybe 1. Maybe he was a prophet. I mean, if we're doing theories. What about Starfleet sticking torpedoes up the tail ion exhaust pipe of the Klingon ships? Correct. There should be ways to find cloaking devices. The fact that they couldn't figure it out goes against what is supposed to be one of the hallmarks of the Klingons, which is or not the Klingons, but of the Federation, which is they're really, really great engineers. You know, they could turn rocks into replicators. And that's been consistent throughout all the series. Nexus says 10 makes sense because it's 1 scientist and 9 guards. Okay, I stand corrected. Did the Klingons have cloaking tech in Prelude to Axanar? I don't remember them using it. I don't remember them using it, no. Canon-wise, they shouldn't. Because they wouldn't have gotten it at that point. So I don't remember seeing it. Earth fell. That's not a total loss. The map indicated 1 planet in Federation control. That's total loss. There is no comeback from that at all. Earth fell? Okay. You know, I don't know if I ever stand by the if you take the capital, you win the war. The methodology. I mean, if you take the capital, that's a big hit, but you still got armies that can fight. And they can create new capitals. So I would say you're doing really well, but I don't think, for instance, if the Nazis had taken Moscow, that would have been the end of the war in Russia, because Russia had armies on the other side of the continent that were on their way. So just because you take something doesn't mean you win. It is a major loss. It's a humiliating loss. It's a demoralizing loss, but I don't know that it's a total loss. Maybe Discovery Universe Chief of Starfleet Operations, Admiral Slater, did a bad job at leading the war effort and needed to be replaced. Maybe. I mean, if they've lost as much as they said they've lost, then yes. Then absolutely yes. Timeline theory. It'll be found out that the Prime timeline will turn out to be another... You know what they might do to make this all Prime timeline and, ooh, we got you, see, you didn't believe us, is Burnham goes back in time. She stops the Battle of the Binary. Then it cuts, and you get to what looks like a Prime timeline. And they start following Prime timeline. All of this was just a prologue and a gotcha. Look at us, we're Game of Thrones in space! That's going to be a GIF. Somebody's going to make that a GIF. John Wickham, I mean, they didn't in canon and in Axanar did care... Oh, I'm sorry. They didn't in canon, and Axanar did care about canon. And like Lore said, if they did Prelude to Axanar, did not show it. Yeah, Prelude didn't show it, and they wouldn't have it at that time scale. That doesn't mean Axanar or Peters isn't going to do it. I don't think he will. I think Peters cares more about canon than the writers of Discovery. And the writers who helped out Peters. Or did it for Peters, or whatever. Whoever you want to believe. Whoever wrote Axanar and is continuing to write Axanar, I don't think would do that. Who does the cloaking have... Why does the cloaking have this distortion effect in the TMP era, but in Discovery has none? Just looking through the bridge window. I don't know. I didn't look at that. I didn't see that. I'd say that's just visual effects. I just think that's a different way of doing the visual effects. I mean, you see the distortion in the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine too, but I don't get too upset about that, because even though you can see the distortion, I think that's more for the audience than it is for the crew and stuff. Because if you could see the distortion effects, then you could target something, if not manually. Nexus lore, they can't do that. Not sure what we're discussing, because they messed up the ship sizes to agree that's not forgivable. Hey, you want to talk about not caring about ship sizes? Look at Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine didn't care about scale and didn't care necessarily about ship sizes. They're not doing big bad this power creep that Discovery is doing, but they didn't care about scaling all that much either. What's interesting is, yeah, the Discovery is supposed to be massive. It's huge, but when you looked in the original series, it was a big deal that how big the Enterprise was. I mean, that was huge. Most ships were so small compared to that. It was supposed to be a big deal. You weren't supposed to have these big, massive ships. Discovery didn't care, obviously, and made ships just completely huge. At this point, CBS might just be well to steal everything from Peters. He didn't steal it. They're not stealing it, by the way, just so we're all, and make the play Garth of Izar for free. Well, I don't think they could make Peters play Garth. I liked Peters as Garth. I was sad to hear that he's not going to continue doing that in the 2 episodes they're doing. But they could take the ideas. It's not stealing when it's your original idea, by the way. We may just agree to disagree on that, but that's my opinion. Easy fix to displace Starfleet ship size. Simple upsize the Prime, the original series fleet. Yeah, I mean, that's possible. Cavort and Burrell, same ship, different size. My guess is no more spores. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense, though. Spores are supposed to be abundant. So, and you have the way. So they may not have spores on the ship, but they should be able to find spores elsewhere. Also, you have that mega spore in that went into Tilly, which is probably going to come back some way, I think. Nexus. I was talking about CBS Prime timeline deception. Deep Space Nine did have scaling issues, but the Discovery being the size of the Sovereign is not okay. I agree. We were agreeing in that. I was just saying that that Deep Space... So, scaling hasn't ever really been a concern since Deep Space Nine. But I will agree that they just wanted to make Discovery and the Shinzu bigger, better, more awesomer. That I agree, that's not okay, especially when you look at the original series canon, where the Enterprise is supposed to be this massive big ship. It's supposed to be a big deal how big this thing is. And then you have the Discovery, which completely just goes into that. All I was saying is that in Deep Space Nine, when they were on the screen, they didn't care what it looked like as long as it looked cool. I don't mind sizes as an issue. If you look at the original series Enterprise, it's not that much bigger than a modern-day aircraft carrier. What space is different from sea, obviously. I don't think it's stupid, the sizes. But that's the thing, Daniel Bevan. Here's what I'm trying to say, and here's what they were trying to do. The Enterprise was supposed to be, like you said, as big as an aircraft carrier. And just like in what we see in the real world, most other ships are far smaller than that. And that's the way it was supposed to be. The Enterprise was supposed to be massive, one of the biggest undertakings of Starfleet. But it's not when you have the Discovery. Not only is it not one of the biggest undertakings, and it's supposed to be far more one of the most advanced ships on the fleet, it can't even touch what Discovery can do. Park Maxwell says, sorry, my point was not clear. Well, it's possible I didn't understand you correctly. I mean, I'm not, I can misunderstand things very easily. Let me clear it up. My thought is the Federation puts it out of use in gear of corrupting the network. Ah, I got you. So they make it illegal. They may do that after they save. I think they do it now to win the war, but after that I could see them banning it and getting rid of the technology and destroying it so no one else could ever have it. I could definitively see that happening, for sure. See, that's not, but Captain Jesse one, that doesn't jive. It says maybe Discovery Tech is larger than being older tech. I still think that Discovery is still much older than the original series fleet. It was state of the art when at the very beginning, at the first couple episodes, they talk about how state of the art, how new this ship is. And this ship is only 10 years before Kirk takes the Enterprise. The Enterprise is either still being constructed, or it's in active duty. I forget which. I feel what Trek Yards has shown in their one video that put the Discovery next to JJ Trek. It was mentioned earlier in the season that a posting on a Constitution-class ship was prestigious and sought after, but that doesn't quite jive with the tech we see elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, especially in Discovery. Constitutions are supposed to be the top dog. They're supposed to be the best of the best. So, I don't know. Nexus says new ship for an extremely old registry. Yeah, because they've cared about registries. Let me tell you, the one thing Star Trek writers care about is doing registries correctly. I mean, woo, they go out of their way to make sure they don't mess that up like every episode. My prediction, Tilly Energy Spark will be the return of Lorca, or at least part of his personality in her. He was absorbed into the network. Maybe part of him came back out. I don't think so. They might try to say, he's in her mind or something. I could see that stupidness. But I have heard rumors and things that have backed up that he didn't want to become known as Lorca, and so he doesn't want to be a part of Trek anymore. And that seems to jive with a lot of things that I've seen. I don't watch much outside of the actual series itself because I don't want what the actors do. I don't want what the writers say to impact my opinion of the show. I want to watch the show and look at it from a lore perspective as much as I can until they force me out of that. Maybe it's like getting posted on an aircraft carrier and getting posted on a submarine. Maybe. I don't know. Can't wait for the USS Burnham, an Excelsior-class vessel, because Kirk with the registry NCC 800. Ha! Oh, that would suck. If they do that. I can see them doing that, too. I could see Star Trek Online doing that. I could see if they did have the post-Voyager that we wanted, it's going to be a Burnham-class ship that they're on. I could see that. Oh, man. Something mad I thought of, as we said before, time not travel to stop the war, but they keep their memory, they retain memories and the Defiant data, and build the Connie based on that in a new timeline. I think they're already in production of the Connie, though, so that wouldn't make much sense. I wouldn't be surprised if they do all keep their memories. At a minimum, I think Michael will. I could see the writing doing this. This seems perfectly in line with what Discovery would do. They go back in time. They win the day. They win the war. And then for whatever reason, let's say the Discovery is destroyed, winning the war. But because it's in a different timeline, spore drive, timey-wimey stuff, you have Michael appear on the bridge of the Shinzu. And you still have the captain and everything like that. And so she changes. She does something different. She either fires before the captain can get out, or she just does something different that doesn't get Georgiou killed. Destroys the ship, and then or she stops the war, and then because of what she did, she is promoted to captain, given the USS Discovery, and then brings everybody back together. She makes sure she gets Saru, Tilly, she brings them all back together because she knows this is the crew that needs to be together. That is perfectly in line. Xavier Gamer, Jonathan Frakes leaked out an interview about Lorca, that Lorca was in Season 2. Does he specifically say, I'm in Season 2? Are the words, I'm looking forward to being in Season 2, or I'm in Season 2, or is it a teaser with a maybe if you look at it in a certain way? Michael Burnham sacrifices herself to reset the timeline. Won't happen because they're going to keep Michael Burnham. If she gave herself and killed herself, even though that could be considered a Mary Sue thing, I wouldn't call it Mary Sue. If Michael Burnham gave her life and it reset the entire timeline and she's out of the series, then I would say that would be some prime evidence of how she's not a Michael Sue or a Mary Sue, because then she did something with consequence that she has to live with. Jason Isaac said, why would we believe anything he said after he's been lying to us for months about his Lorca? Yeah, it's just teaser stuff. It's just fan garbage. I don't think Isaac's coming back. I don't think Star Trek Online team really likes Discovery, other than the lockbox. Discovery breaks Star Trek Online plot and makes Online's plot holes look like potholes compared to Discovery's black plot hole. I disagree. I think the people at Star Trek Online are loving their partnership and really want to push this as much as possible because it's pushing people to buy their product. I really do wish they leave the focus on one character behind and focus more on the day-to-day life of the entire crew. You know, they tried something different. I'll give them that. The more I thought about it, I like that they tried something different. But yeah, Trek is meant to be ensemble. It just is. Yeah, it's meant to be ensemble. I get trying to have a focus on one character. It doesn't work. It really doesn't. It's just, and it comes off as pandering. So, yeah. So, we're going to be ending it very shortly. Well, I need more coffee. We're going to be ending it very shortly. Next video will be the, Star Trek Online when they take on the Borg. I think you guys are going to like what I did with that because there's a couple plot holes I had some fun with in the Borg episode series. Also, if you guys haven't watched that series, it's one where I do a little more levity. I have a little more fun with it. And there's going to be some big... It's going to be about 4 or 5 episodes away, but there's going to be something massive that happens that you want to stay tuned for. But you guys have any questions? Anything else we want to pound out before I get off? Also, the end of the Victorious Dominion series, that is on Friday. The end of the where I talk about bringing Janeway in and what's going to happen with that. I'll probably talk about it on the Geek Breakdown on Wednesday. But I'll be going through my thoughts with that. It would have been more interesting if the Discovery met the Enterprise B and found out that their entire journey was irrelevant. That would be. What if Star Trek Discovery built updated NX-class fleet to fight the war? I mean, they could have used the tech from the Terran Empire. That'd be interesting if... And that's what they kind of make it seem like, that Georgiou is going to give them technology to win the war, and it's going to be Terran Empire technology. Completely destroys what the Federation is about. And I think it only would highlight how much better Prelude to Axanar is, especially when you have the Admiral in Prelude to Axanar talking about how he doesn't want to lose being what the Federation means. That he's not afraid of Klingon fleets. He's not afraid of dying. He's afraid that Starfleet will stop being Starfleet because of this war to win it. And then you see that they become the Terran Empire to win the war. I think that would be drastic. If they took some old NX-class ships out, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they've already done it. If they've lost that much, even let's say that they lost the 20% it says and not like the ball game like it looks like. They'd be pulling everything they got. They'd be pulling NX out. They've been pulling wars from the not Zincathi War. What was the war with the cats? Nathan Norman, right. Sacrificing the dream of the Federation to win the war. And I think you can starkly see that. I think you see that with when they put the bomb in the Klingon's dead body. Honestly, what I should do is I should put him saying that speech and then the image of that happening. That wouldn't be a bad video. I might do that. Or one of you guys are going to steal it from me. Not the Xindi, Captain Zovran. I'm talking about the cats. Xindi weren't cats. Could be the Klingons overextended themselves like the Nazi Blitzkrieg. The thing about the Klingons is their entire civilization is dedicated to war. And so they can only fight so much and so long. And really, them being dedicated to war is more the Next Generation, the original series movies, than it was the original series. But yeah, they would easily overextend themselves. What if the Xindi had a feline race? I don't know if they had a... Okay, I don't think the Xindi had a feline race, but if they do, it's not the Xindi. Cat race at war with United Earth. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Please hold. The Zin. Yeah, the United Earth Zin Wars. KZIN, which is why the Zincathi. Maybe it is the Zincathi. I don't know. Since I've been playing Star Trek Online, they have, I think that might be the Zincathi. They have something similar to the Zincathi that keeps tripping me up. John Wickham, how'd they get an updated war map if they have no contact with Starfleet? I'm assuming that their sensors are so powerful they can pick up the Empire versus Federation. That's not outside of canon, in fact. That is not outside of canon. Hold on. Give me 1 second. So let me do a dance. Let me do this. Maybe, is it called the Zincathi? It is, the Zincathi. They are the cat-like species. Yeah. No, that's not... In the late 2371. It's not the Zincathi. God, that's going to bug me. That is going to bug me. I have to figure that out. Okay, we're going to do this together. And I'm going to get a lot of people mad at me. Star Trek, the animated series, cat species. Let's try that. Not the Cations, I don't think. No, it's not the Cations. Yeah, here they are. What are these? Yeah, because the Zin. Maybe the Zincathi? The KZIN. The Zin. It's not. It's not the Cations. It's not. There are multiple cat species in the animated series. It's not the Cations. It is the Zin. KZIN, they're the ones that had the weird gun. They went to war with the United Earth 3 times. They lost 3 times. One of the things they knew from the wars that really inspired the United Earth to win the wars was that the Zin would eat humans that they captured. Human was a delicacy to the Zin. And all of that is from the original series when it came in and then expanded in the animated series, which is now canon, by the way. Thank God, because... Fun, fun, fun in the sun, sun, sun. I think that they lost the whole game. The United Earth would mass produce augments to fight and wash the Klingons away. I think that the humans, when they got desperate, would basically become like Lorca and would... I think Andromeda really was a good example of what happens, what the Federation probably would have done. So the Commonwealth, when they were really losing, started nuking planets and started doing some really over-the-top stuff. And similar to what we see in Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine never nuked... Well, yeah, Deep Space Nine never nuked planets during the war. But... Yeah. How did Star Trek Animated become canon, says Captain Jesse 1. Because, and they made this decision close to when Discovery launched, and the reason why I think is they wanted to be able to use some of the things the animated series did. In the animated series, you had holodecks before the Next Generation. I think they wanted to use a holodeck, so they said the animated series is canon. They do a lot of Easter eggs that go back to the animated series. I think the animated series did a lot of stuff that they wanted to be able to say, well, it always existed. So the CBS just came out and said, guess what? This thing that we said, the animated series that we said for the longest time that is not canon and that Gene Roddenberry went to his grave not wanting to be canon is now canon. Yeah, Cisco did commit a war crime by using a biological weapon on an entire planet. Yes, Cisco should have been in a jail cell long before the Dominion War. In Star Trek Continues, they show Scotty inventing a holodeck. Be canon at best. Star Trek Continues is fan fiction. I wouldn't even consider it beta canon. I like Star Trek Continues. I prefer some of Star Trek Continues over Star Trek, especially the Spock. I love the person who plays Spock. Let me rephrase it. I really like Leonard Nimoy too. I really like the person who plays Spock in Continues, and I really like the person who I love Leonard Nimoy. But I like a lot of Star Trek Continues episodes more than I like the original series. But, you know, it's still fanfic. It's not even B canon. No, Cisco used a bioweapon to counter the bioweapons used by the Maquis every swap planet because why the hell not? Yeah, I mean, Cisco was able to commit an act of war, or not an act of war, he was able to commit a war crime. Cisco is no better than, let me say this, he's marginally better than any state in the real world that uses chemical weapons. He used a chemical weapon in a way that they could get away in time. He still used a chemical weapon. So Planet Motherlode is canon. It's all canon, buddy. It's all canon. Yeah, it's only a 20-year bioweapon. It's only 20 years. It's only... Hey, it's only 20 years. Hey, you know, we nuked this country. We nuked it into the ground and back. But the nuclear radiation, it's only 1 to 5 years after the attack. Only 5 years, and then the radiation's gone. Just move back in. We'll nuke you, and then you can just move back in. It's only 5 years for nuclear fallout. It's only 20 years. That's interesting. I didn't know that about a nuclear fallout. Man, I'm sure I am on some kind of FBI or CIA list, the things I look... because when I'm doing the videos and I'm putting the stuff together, the research I'll do... The research I'll do will be like, what is the nuclear load of a photon torpedo, and then what is the nuclear fallout look like? What does nuclear do to the human body and stuff like that? I was doing research for my Star Wars. If you watch the Star Wars Christmas special, I looked up how long can a person survive upside down, and what are the effects of a person that survives upside down. So I mean, if you look at my searches, what happens if you hold a person upside down? What does nuclear waste look at? How long will nuclear waste happen? Will it happen if a nuclear bomb hits metal? I mean, will you continue doing videos about Stargate? I will, in fact, continue doing videos about Stargate. I will get a knock on the day one day, Laura. Or I'm sure someone's gonna like edit this live stream and take it completely out of context, and I'll have to deal with that drama. Laura, I think that every using the new is tracked by someone somewhere. Oh, everyone using internet. I wouldn't be surprised. So, anything else you guys want to talk about before I see if I'm on any kind of FBI hit list? Section 31 will knock one. I really wouldn't be surprised if the FBI, if there was a list somewhere. I'm not as deep state as people think, but I wouldn't be surprised if certain search terms put together in a short amount of time don't flag something, right? I wouldn't be surprised if my name popped up somewhere because I did all of this. Of course, it's easy to explain away, and I'm sure anyone that does their research. Is there a real Section 31? I am required to tell you there is not a real Section 31. Comparing numbers between Stargate and Star Wars is hilarious. Stargate Mark 10 are less than 10 gigaton yields. Okay. I'm pretty sure I'm on an FBI list because of my cyber defense competition. Okay. Maybe you are. Maybe together. Maybe it's like me on top and you on bottom, or you on top and me on bottom. I think the Discovery will change the past and then be used as a Section 31 Black Ops. That might be a way to get me to watch Season 2, is if they said, if Section 31, this is how they rewrite everything. Discovery is taken off, it's removed from all databases and becomes a Section 31 ship. You got my attention then. We may take a look at that. But guys, I think that's all that's going to be done for today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching it. Hey, if you do like this, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if doing morning stuff is good for you, if you can see it a lot more. And coming up, we got a video coming out tomorrow, Star Trek Online, the Battle of Klendathu. Thursday, Friday will be the ending of the Victorious Dominion. Saturday, I'll be doing Star Trek Online. Come on, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can play with me as I play Star Trek Online. We talk about whatever you want. Post-show for Discovery on Sunday. And then we start this whole process off again, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe.